Hello and welcome to part 2 of section 1.4, properties of numbers. And let's just jump right into things, folks, and let's get this work done. Now you're on the back side of this paper, and that is what we just got down. So I may be looking back at this because this section is about identifying those words, and we will hit the examples here and hopefully get you ready to get some work done. Number 1 says, is subtraction of whole numbers commutative? If not, give a counter example. Okay, so notice that word counter example. That was the very first word in the notes up here. All right, so we're going to try to find an example that shows that that conjecture is not true. So, is subtraction commutative? Now remember, commutative means I can switch the order around. So consider this question. 10 minus 6. Does that equal the same thing as if I do 6 minus 10? Hopefully you can see that those are not equal because this one is 4 and this one is actually a negative number, negative 4. So what that means is you cannot commute to subtraction. So the answer is subtraction commutative? No, it's not. And the counterexample is right there because the counterexample proves that it's not true. All right, so that's what's meant if you're asked to give a counterexample or prove something. If that would have been a true statement, you don't have to give a counterexample because it's always true. Now, on this section, it says, name the property by each statement. And look what we have. 8 times 4 equals 4 times 8. So all they want you to do is glance back in your notes and tell me which property is that we had on this paper. And let's look back and see what happened. See how the order just changed from 8 times 4 here to 4 times 8 here. That's the commutative. We can abbreviate that property of, you can do x for multiplication. If we look back at number 3, 6 times 1 is 6. Again, you should look back on the other side and identify what property that is. And hopefully you saw it was this one right here, the multiplicative identity. Remember, identity is the one where you get the same answer that you started with. So you know it's identity. And you know what I'm okay if you do? If you just say identity, multiplication, you can do that. That's fine. Well, let's take a look at number 4. Number 4, notice what you're looking for here is you're asking yourself, well, what question mark changes? Okay, what changes? And notice this right here and this right here. So the thing that changed were the order of the 3 and 9. And remember, it's the commutative property that tells us we can change the order and get the same answer. Now notice that's commutative property of addition because it moved around the addition sign. And looking at number 5, you see what that is? Look at the answer is the same thing that we started with. So you remember what that is? It's the same as number 3. It's an identity of addition. Number 6, do you see what happened there? It's the commutative property because the 13 plus 12 became 12 plus 13. So that's the commutative property of addition. And wrapping up the properties before we hit the bottom half of the page, let's look and see what changed between these two sides. Did the order change? Look, 6, 1, 9, 6, 1, 9. The numbers didn't change, but the parentheses did. In number 7, or I'm sorry, on the left, we would do that first. On the right, we would do this first. We would get the same answer. That is the associative property of multiplication. Now, the last part of the page, working on down. I'm not sure we need to do all of these, but I'll show you the idea here. What they're wanting you to do is to simplify the expression and then identify what the properties are you used. So let's take a look at number 8. Now, there's some math going on here that you may not know yet, and we actually get into later in the year. But you see, the parentheses are saying add 5 plus y, and you may not understand exactly why. We can't add 5 plus y right now and get something, okay? But since that's addition, I know I could do this, right? I could go 9 plus 5. I could move the parentheses there. Now you need to write that down because I wrote it down. Those two things are the same. The associative property says I can regroup with addition, get the same answer. That's the associative property. You need to write that down too. You're justifying why we could do that. Now we can add 9 plus 5 and get 14. And I wrote 15. Let's pretend that's a 4. It's an ugly 4. 14 plus y. That is this expression simplified there. Let's take a look at number 9. So what's happening here? Just calm down if you're getting stressed. It's okay. All they're doing right now is trying to show you the properties in the math that we'll be doing. Okay, so let's take a look at number 9. And again, we're not allowed to add k plus 8. We can't do that. But I can do this. I can switch the 8 plus k because it's a round addition. So again, for now, just flatter me please and write this down. And what I did right there is I did the commutative property. We'll just say commute, because I switched the order, okay, of which they were, their place. But now what I'm going to do is I have to move the parentheses like this around the 3 plus 8 plus the k. And that gave me 11 there plus k. Okay, and what I did here, by the way, I should have written this down first. I did the associative property. Okay. Let's try number 10, and then I think we'll skip down to the last two and be done. We're just going to spend one day on this. The goal here today is for you to interact with the property names. Okay, and that's the focus. Okay, so if you're not sure what all is happening here, the more you just practice it, the more it'll become clear. What I'm going to do right here, I have to change the order of those two. That's the commutative property. And then I'm going to change the grouping and call that's the associative. And I end up with S plus 19. Again, it's about the properties. It's about being aware and recognizing which one is which. That's what this section is about. Like I said, I'd like to just spend one day on it and nobody freaks out. Number 12. I'm going to skip number 11. I think we've done enough like that. Let's look at number 12. They have 1 times d times 14. Well, I can do 1 times d because I know that 1 times d is just d. That right there, that is multiplicative identity. Or you might just write identity. And then d times 14, we prefer to write 14d because I can commute. And that's the way we like things in pre-algebra and algebra to be written with the coefficient on the front. Number 13, lastly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, again, switch the parentheses to z times 11 times 3. That's, let's see, that's the associative property. And I'm going to turn that into 33. And then I can commute that and call it 33z. That is the commutative property right there. So again, it's about the property names. Okay, so that's what I want you focusing on today. Not as much freaking out if you don't know why I'm doing some of this math. We will talk that through as you do it. I'd like you to dig in today into those names that we talked in the first half of the video. That's basically the goal, and we'll be moving on and coming back to that math stuff later.